I'm sure as it's probably been for everybody in some way, the past 2.5 years have been wild. And I say that in the unprecedented, I freaking hate that word now, tough, stressful, good times, bad times sense. Just a real quick disclaimer because I've got to read this out. I do not intend this film to come across as one big complaint, or in some cases bragging, and it kind of worries me that it might come across as such. This is a film depicting my story of the past 3 years and all the raw, sometimes brutal honesty that comes with it. It's a film about what comes next. So let me start from the beginning.
I was living in Japan at the beginning of 2020. I was exploring, filming, documenting, and absorbing everything Japan had to offer. I honestly was living my best life. And I'll explain more about why I say that specifically later. But anyway, Japan. Yeah, the money ran out. Like, I literally ended up having roughly £6.60 in my bank. And I tried finding film work in Japan, but could barely speak the language. And in Japan especially, you need to be able to speak Japanese to get by. So, as much as I didn't want to, I had to go home. But I made big plans to move to London, become a full-time film editor, and experience what it's actually like to be working as a filmmaker in one of the largest cities in the world. And it all started out great. I got the job secured and I found a place to live within just 2 weeks. Everything fell into place. Then, not even a month later, this happened.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
So I got to see London like this. I thought I was fine job-wise, but it turns out I wasn't.
And I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid we're going to have to confirm that your position is redundant.
London had chewed me up and spat me back out again. I thought I was going to have to leave. I was paying London prices with no income and none of the London life to live. So it didn't really make sense. It didn't seem like it was worth it to be here.
So the last time I uploaded a YouTube video, it was September 2020, and I remember thinking at the time that I would start making films for myself again because the first wave of COVID was over and I had no form of steady income at the time, and it felt like the obvious choice to start filling my time with making my own creations.
But the problem when you have almost no savings and no income is you start to feel guilty when you're spending time on something which you know isn't fulfilling your instant need of getting paid. So it became exceedingly difficult to do. I felt that my only option was to find clients and get paid work. And so for 3 months I worked tirelessly at it with barely any luck. But eventually, thankfully, this time only spent getting paid work paid off. I started to kick off a career in freelance filmmaking, and it really, really kicked off. I was working extremely hard and achieving goals beyond what I thought was possible.
I'm very busy.
We're talking starting a full-blown limited production company. I moved into my own flat in central London. I was getting so much work I was subcontracting, I couldn't do it all myself. My calendar went from looking like this to this every month. The work was getting bigger and better. High-stakes ads, creative freedom of branding,
But this couldn't continue. I feel like I'm so caught up in making a living that I'm just forgetting to live right now. As good as this might sound, at the end of the day, it wasn't 100% what I actually wanted to be doing. It was maybe 60%. It was enough to keep me happy and make me feel fulfilled, but it wasn't what I felt like I was meant to be using my time for. Now let's just go back to Japan.
Remember how I said, living my best life? So look, for me, I really do believe my calling, my reason for being, the reason I was put on this earth, is to travel and share experiences and stories through film, to inspire and move others with the films that I create.
Now we're heading on a shoot.
Now the problem is, usually when you make films for others, not all the time, but usually, they have some kind of money-making goal in mind and their audience is very select. My reason for making these films was entirely switched from move and inspire to persuade and entertain. It's similar, but it's not the same thing.
I needed to get that creative spark back. I needed to go out and experience something new, to bring something new to the table every day. I needed to leave.
But with the uncertainty of the pandemic, it took so much longer than I thought, and after so long, it got to a point where I even considered whether I should actually leave everything I had built behind. It's more than a lot of filmmakers could even dream of. My now 6-figure business, my own flat in central London, all the clients and connections I had built from scratch.
Plus, if I stayed, I could get a dog. And this was probably the hardest part of the decision process, yeah. It came down to this. When I thought about myself living the exact same life for the next few years, it just didn't feel right. I mean, when you're a filmmaker, you live to find the most interesting stories and you live to capture the most captivating visuals possible. And I wasn't going to find them in London. I knew I wasn't going to find them in London.
So that was it. My choice was clear, but it wasn't easy.
I am ready to go, it's just sad.
I sold almost all of my stuff, narrowed almost 10 years worth of belongings down into 2 suitcases, a box and a ski bag. I bought a plane ticket to the other side of the world, and I stepped onto that plane.